What is the trigger? Trigger is a automated process. Trigger is a automated process which is fired whenever any DML event is occurred. Whenever a DML event occurs on object. On any object, whenever the DML operations are performed, triggers are going to be fired. Now, triggers are classified into two types. Triggers are classified into two types. What are the two types of triggers? So triggers, whatever the triggers we have, triggers are classified into two types. One is before trigger, second one is after trigger. First one is before trigger, second one is after trigger. So, so what we have? Before trigger, after trigger. So what is this before trigger? Look at the point. I have an object. I am trying to insert a record. Then I click on save button. When I click on save button, it is supposed to save in the object. It is supposed to save the record in the object. So what happened? Before saving the record, it will fire. Before saving the record, it will fire. Before insert trigger, then it is going to save the record. So what is the order? When you create a new record and click on a save, what is going to run first? After running the before triggers, then the record will be saved to object. After saving the record in the object, then one more trigger will fire. What is the trigger? So tell me, when are the before triggers are fired? When are the before triggers are fired? Before the modifications are saved to the object. Before triggers are fired, before the modifications are saved to the object. You made some changes, click on the save. Before these changes are saved to the table, before the changes are saved to the object, before triggers are fired. When are the after triggers fired? When are the after triggers fired? After triggers are fired after saving the records to the table. Once the record is saved in the object, then the after trigger is going to be fired. So how many types of triggers we have? Two types. What are they? Before trigger and after trigger. What is the before trigger? Before trigger will be fired before the record is saved to the table. After trigger is fired after the record is saved to the object. Are you clear? So triggers are classified in two formats. Before trigger, after trigger. What are before triggers? Before triggers are fired, before the new data, modified data is saved to object. When you say after trigger, after triggers are saved after the modified data is. Am I clear with this? When you save, before saving, that trigger will run and save. After means after saving, the trigger will fire. Before trigger, after trigger. Am I clear with this? Right. Now, how many types of triggers are there? So we have trigger events. Trigger events. We got 7 types of trigger events. What are the 7 types of trigger events? Before insert. After insert. After update. So what type of events we have? Before insert, before update, before delete, after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete. Clear boss? Now these are trigger events. So how many types of triggers? Before trigger, after trigger. In the before trigger, before insert, before update, before delete. In the after triggers, after insert, after update, after delete, after and delete. Are you clear? Okay. Now let us look at the next point. Trigger variables. There is a class called, is an Apex class. Trigger is a predefined Apex class. Trigger is a predefined Apex class. Obviously, in the class there are going to be some variables. Similarly, we have some variables. What are the variables? New, old map, new map, is delete, is insert, is undelete, is update, is before, is after, is executing. Like this, there are some variables. We will see the purpose of the variable along with the concept. Now, in the trigger class, there are some predefined variables which are there, which are going to store the data which is required to run the operation. Which is going to store the data which is required to run the operation. So, triggers are the automated operations which are performed whenever a DML event occurs. There are two types of triggers, and before triggers and after triggers. And in the trigger, we have some trigger context variable. They are called as what? Trigger context variable. While running the trigger, the data that is required to run the operation, that is stored in the variable. While running the trigger, the data that is required to run the trigger, that is stored in these variables. They are called as what? Trigger context variables. Fine. Now, let us see the syntax. How do you write the trigger? Trigger, example, on. Whatever the logic you want to write, write it. So what was this? Trigger name, trigger name on S object. Example, I am writing a trigger on account object. Trigger example on which object? What type of event you are writing? I am writing trigger on case object. Example on case. We can write multiple events. So when is this trigger is going to be fired? When is this trigger is going to be fired? When is this trigger is going to be fired? The trigger is going to be fired before insert and after delete. So when you write a trigger is going to be fired when the given events are events occur. What are the events we have? Before insert, after delete. Before insert and after delete. Am I clear with this? Right. Now write the syntax. Create a trigger. Create a trigger. Create a trigger. So, triggers are these are automated actions which are performed. Triggers are the automated actions which are performed whenever any DML event occurs. Triggers are the automated action which are going to be performed whenever any DML event occurs. I repeat the term. Triggers are the automated actions which are going to be performed whenever any DML event occurs on the object. When you say DML event, it may be insertion, updation, deletion, undeletion, undeletion. Look at the point. I am making it clear. So again, once again, what are the triggers? Triggers are the automated operations which are performed when a DML event occurs on the object. Now when you say DML event, what are the different types of DML events we have? DML events. When you say DML, it may be insert, update, upset, merge, delete. So merge is nothing but update and delete only. Merge is nothing but what? Update and delete. When you say upset, what is the meaning of upset? Insert and update. So basically, what are the operations we have? Insert, update, delete and delete. Triggers are the automated actions which are going to be performed when a DML event occurs, like insert, update, delete and delete. When you say upset, automatically it is a combination of insert and update. Either insert or update. Whenever we say merge, it is going to be update and delete. Are you clear? Okay. Now, when are these triggers are going to be fired? When are these triggers are going to be fired? If you want to fire the triggers, there are some trigger events. What are the trigger events? There are two types of triggers. First one is before trigger. Second one is after trigger. We have before triggers and we have after triggers. What are before triggers? What are after triggers? Listen to the point. I have an object. Look at this pocket. I am trying to insert the data. This is my database. I have name, phone, I have some records. Wipro 111, industry, banking. Like this, we have some data. Now, what I am trying to do, I am trying to insert a new record. Del 333. This new record, I am trying to insert. When you are trying to insert the new record, when I said insert, before this record is saved to database, if you want to perform any operation, it is called before triggers. Before the modifications are saved to the database, whatever the logic you want to run, those will be implemented in the before triggers. Before trigger means before the modified data is saved to the database. Before the modified data is saved to the database, whatever the logic you want to perform, that will be defined within a before trigger. Now, after triggers. Once the modifications are stored to database, what are the changes that you are trying to perform? Once the modifications are stored to the database, after saving, whatever the actions you want to perform, they are called as after triggers. So what is the before trigger and after trigger? Before trigger means before the data is saved to database, whatever the logic you want to run, before the new data is saved to the database, whatever the logic you want to perform, they are implemented in the before triggers. Before triggers, before the data is saved to the database. After triggers, after the data is saved to the database. Are you clear? So how many types of triggers we have? Before triggers and after triggers. What are before triggers? These triggers are going to be fired. These triggers are fired before the data is saved to. After triggers. These triggers are fired after the data is saved to. Right. Now, how many before triggers are there? When you say before triggers, we have before insert, before record is inserted, before the modified data is updated, before delete. When you delete, before the record is deleted, I want to run the logic. When you update, before the updated value is saved to database, I want to run the logic. When you say after, after insert, after update, after delete, after. What are these? After insert, after update, after delete, after undelete. I hope you are clear. So how many types of events are there? 7 types of events. What are the 7 types of events? Before insert, before update, before delete. Okay. After insert, after update, after delete, after delete. Right, boss? Triggers are going to be fine. Now, I don't want to discuss the trigger variables right now. We'll take the conclusion at the end. So we'll see with respect to the context what all the variables are there. I don't want to give all the definition at the beginning. Let us see along with the topic. We'll take the conclusion at the end. What are the different types of variables we have? Initially, I will start with the insert trigger. We'll first start with the insert trigger. How do you define a trigger? Look at the point. Trigger name on SOQL. Trigger name SOQL event. Example, we're going to give example. Trigger example on account object before. If you want to write after update trigger on contact, trigger example on contact. What is the event? After. You can also give multiple events. We can also give multiple events. Trigger update trigger on account before insert, after update, before delete. We can also give multiple events. Trigger on this object where the trigger is going to be fired when? Before insert, after update, before. Now I am giving one more example. Trigger on age object after update. Syntax is clear. How you are going to define a trigger? Trigger name on SOQL event. Right, boss? Create a trigger. Create a after insert trigger on account object. Create a after insert trigger on account object. Create after insert. What is the insert trigger and how they can be performed? Now the point is, whenever we insert the record, trigger will be fine. But are you sure that you are going to insert only one record every time? Let us say I am inserting account ACC equal to new account ACC dot name. Insert ACC. I inserted only one record. But there is also a possibility that I may insert the data like this also. Am I right or no? So when you are inserting the data, I cannot guarantee that every time you insert only one record. Sometimes you may insert a group of records also. I told ACS dot add A. Now I am giving insert ACS. Am I right? Am I right? So when you are trying to insert the data, are you sure that every time you insert only one record? No. Let us say I am inserting the data from here. Let me go to the account object, click on account, inserting a new record. Yes, I am inserting only one record. But if I am inserting the data using a data loader, I may insert 10 records, 1000 records, 5 million records. So can you guarantee that always you are going to insert one record? No. There is a reason. Always we have to consider that you are going to insert a group of record. If you write a logic for a group of record, it will also run for a single record. But if you write a logic for a single record, it will not run for group of record. That is the reason. Always we have to assume that you are going to insert a group of records. Are you clear? That is the reason. By default, every trigger is bulk trigger. By default, every trigger is bulk trigger. What we are assuming? We are assuming that we are inserting a group of account records. We are assuming that you are inserting a group of opportunity. When you say group, it can be 1 or 2 or 3 or n number. So always we assume that we are inserting one group of records. Am I clear with this? Now come back to the example. Now look at the format. This is an account object what I have. This is the account object what I have. In the account object already there are 3 account records. Now what I am trying to do, I am trying to insert a group of records. It may be one or it may be a group. So I am trying to insert a group of record. What I am trying to insert, let us say, I am giving Apple. Record. Then I am giving capital. Like this we have given a group of record. We are assuming that we are inserting a group of record. It may be one or more than one. I gave these 2 records, then I clicked on save button. When you click on save button, what actually should happen? What actually should happen? The record should go to database and save. When you click on save, the record has to come here and save. Am I right? But actually what happens? When you click on the save, the records will not be saved to database. When you click on the save, first it is going to call before insert trigger. What is going to be called? Before insert trigger. When you click on the save, before insert trigger is going to be called. Before insert trigger. After running the before insert trigger, then it is going to save the data to database. After saving the records to the database, after running the before insert trigger, it will go and save the data to database. So when all the before insert trigger is fired, before the new records are saved to the database, before the new records are saved to the object, triggers are fired. When is the before insert trigger fired? Before the new records are saved to the object, triggers are fired. When are the before insert triggers fired? Before the new records are saved to the object, triggers are fired. Am I clear with this? Okay. Now, list of records what you are going to save. List of records what you are trying to insert. What are the records you are trying to insert? Apple, capital. The list of records which you are trying to insert, they are referred with a variable called trigger.new. So what is trigger.new? Trigger.new is a variable. Trigger.new is a variable defined in the Apex class called trigger. There is a Apex class called trigger. In that class there is a variable called new. What is that? It is a list of S object. The list of records which you are trying to insert. The list of records which you are trying to insert. Those list of records are in trigger.new. So trigger.new is a variable. Trigger.new is a variable. Trigger.new is a variable. The variable contains list of new records which you are trying to insert. Okay. Now look at the point. In the before insert trigger, I wrote a SOQL query. Select a name from. When I told select a name from account, which records will come? When I write a query, the records which are saved to the database will be fetched. When you write a SOQL query, which records will be fetched? Records which are saved to the database will be fetched. Now, what are the records which are saved? Wipro, TCS. What about the Apple capital? These records are not yet saved. Before the records are saved only, trigger is running. Trigger is running before the new records are saved. So, the new records which we are trying to save to the database, we cannot fetch them using a SOQL query. Why? Because the data is not yet saved. Are you clear? Okay. So, can I write a SOQL query on the new records which you are trying to insert? We cannot write. So, how do you refer to the new records? Trigger.new. Trigger.new. Are you clear? Okay. Now, let us understand understand the next point. Let us understand. We have read operation and DML operation. Read operation, like write operation, DML operation. When do you go for write? When do you go for DML? When do you go for write? When do you go for DML? Let us assume you gave one love letter to your girlfriend. You gave a love letter. You gave a love letter, right? You plan to write a love letter. You are writing a love letter. There are some mistakes in the love letter. You wrote a letter. There are mistakes. When there are mistakes, will you make a call to your girlfriend and say, "I am writing a letter. There are some bugs in that. I am modifying it." Why? Because you are not yet submitted this letter to her. Because you are not yet submitted this letter to her, no need to take the approval from the girl to make any modification in the letter. Am I right? Am I right? So what is it? Because the data is not yet saved to the database, if you want to make any modification, straight away we can make a modification which is called write operation. Before the data is saved to database, you can modify the data whenever you want. By using simply by what? By simply giving what? Modification. When I say modification, what do you mean by that? Like, let us see. Now insert ACC. Before the record is saved, I can say a dot name equal to You make a number of modification, no problem. Before you insert, you can straight away modify by taking what? Straight away modify. Okay, straight away by taking what? A dot name equal to ABC. A dot name equal to 1, 2, 3. A dot name equal to. You can modify. What is that called? Write operation. What is it called? Write operation. Before the data is saved to database, whatever the changes you want, you can make it. No issue. But once you hand over the letter to the girl, instead of Kavya, you wrote Divya. Now you want to modify the name. What should you do, boss? First, make a call, take the permission, take the letter, make a modification. When you make a modification, immediately you will get a call. Where is my letter? You need to resubmit because now it is not your property. Once you submit it, it's not your property. Once it is submitted, if you want to make any changes, what should you do? Go to the place, collect the letter. Okay, go to the place, ask her to give the letter, make a modification, again submit the letter. Okay, why you are asking the permission? Because already it is submitted. Once the letter is submitted, if you want to make any modification, you have to take the permission from her, make a modification and resubmit. And resubmit. And resubmit. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now, when you say DML operation, once the data is saved to the database, if you want to modify the data, what should I do? Write a SOQL query, get the data, what is there in the database, modify the data, again update the data. So the data which is there in the database, if you want to modify the data which is there in the database, if you want to modify, you have to write a SOQL query, get the data, modify the data and update it. What is update? DML. Whenever you want to modify the data which is there in the database, if you want to modify the data which is there in the database, you have to perform DML operation. If the data is not yet saved, it's only write operation. Before the data is saved to database, the changes what you make on the data is called write operation. Once the data is saved to the database, if you want to make any changes, you have to go for what? DML operation. Am I clear? Now, look at this. When I am going for this, if you want to make any changes on Wipro, TCS, Dell, what should I do? DML operation. Why? It's already saved. Because the Wipro, TCS, Dell already saved to database. If you want to modify, I have to write a SOQL query, get the data, modify, update the data back to the database. If you want to modify Apple or Capital, no need of DML because they are not yet inserted. So what I will do? Write operation. So the list of records which are there in the trigger.new, on those list of records, what I can make? Read and write operation. What I can make? Read and write operation. The data which is there in the database, like Wipro, TCS, Dell, on those records, what should I make? SOQL. You have to write a query, then only data will come. SOQL DML. Are you clear about this? In the before insert trigger, the list of records, what you are trying to insert, they are in trigger.new. In the before insert trigger, the list of records what you are trying to insert, they are in trigger.new. In the before insert, the list of records what you are trying to insert, they are in trigger.new. What is the trigger.new? It is a variable. It is a variable. How long that variable will be there? Till the program completes. It is a variable which holds the data. What type of variable is this? List of S object. What type of variable? List of S object. List of records. Now, what type of operations we can make on trigger.new? Read operation and write operation. What type of operations we can make on the data which is there in database? SOQL and DML operation. People are clear with this? People have followed? So let me take a quick scenario. I hope you got the requirement. People are clear? Clear about the requirement? Clear for everyone? Clear? So let me take a requirement. Now I am saying, whenever new account is created with industry as banking, whenever a new account is created with industry as banking, set ownership as public and rating as hot. Whenever new account record is created, whenever the new account record is created, set the ownership as public, rating as hot when industry equal to banking. Whenever a new account record is created with industry equal to banking, set the ownership equal to public, rating equal to hot. So let us see this. File, new, what is that? Apex. I am writing trigger name and which object. What is the trigger we have? Before insert. What is the trigger? Before insert. Now, before insert, all the new records what I am trying to insert, where are those records? They are in trigger.new. Trigger.new is a single record or a group of record? Group of record. If you want to refer to a group of record, what should I do? For account A, trigger dot. I am taking one by one record from trigger.new. So what is the condition? If A dot industry equal to banking. If industry equal to banking, so what did you say? A dot ownership equal to A dot rating equal to. So if I make the changes, automatically the changes will be reflected. Why? Why? Because the records are not yet saved. Any changes are made, automatically the changes will be applied to the database. Are you clear? So what is this operation? Write. What is this operation? Write. Clear on this one? Whenever a new account record is created with industry equal to banking, ownership equal to public, rating equal to hot. Then go to the account record, create a new account, capital group, consulting, industry equal to banking, industry equal to banking, save. So what is this? Rating equal to what? Ownership equal to. So what happened? Automatically the values are manipulated. So what was this concept called? Before insert. What was this concept called? Before insert. People have followed. So how you are going to write a trigger? Trigger name on S object, then event. Now let us try one example. Let us try out one more example. What was the example? Whenever new opportunity is created with stage name as closed one, whenever a new opportunity is created, whenever a new opportunity is created, whenever a new opportunity is created with the stage name as closed one, otherwise new opportunity is created, then I told set stage name equal to prospect. Set the stage name equal to prospecting. Look at the point. What are the fields we have? Opportunity. So we have stage name, prospecting. Type will take it as new customer, lead source. Okay. Then set stage name equal to prospecting. Close date equal to close date as 15 days from today. Then type equal to type as new customer, lead source equal to web. Whenever a new opportunity is created, set the stage name equal to prospecting, close it as 15 days from today, type as new customer, lead source equal to web. This is what I want to set. Now write that trigger for. So look at the format. New I am writing a trigger on opportunity. So what I am doing? For take one by one opportunity, OP, trigger dot, take one by one opportunity, then make age name equal to prospecting, opportunity, close date as dot today plus 15 days, opportunity, type equal to new customer, then we are giving lead source. Lead source. Web. Lead source equal to web. Should I make any email? No required, not required, because it's a before. Any changes we make, automatically they are reflected in the database. This is what we have created. So go back. Everyone is clear? People are clear with this format of writing the trigger? Okay. Now let us go back. Go to the opportunity. I'm getting some opportunity like Salesforce. Close date I'm giving 28th. Stage name qualification. Stage name I gave qualification. Close date I gave 14th. Where it is created. Close date equal to 29th. Stage equal to prospecting. Type equal to new customer. Lead source equal to web. Right? So trigger is running before the data is saved to database. Make the changes, then the data will be saved to database. So when is this trigger firing? Before the data is saved to database. People are comfortable with this? Clear? Okay. Now let us take extension. Now the same trigger. So what happened? Before insert. Once the before insert is completed, records are saved to database. Once the records are saved to database, then automatically what happened? Now automatically what happened? After insert trigger will be fired. So look at the example. I am trying to insert a new record. In database we have name, phone, already we have a couple of records. I have Dell 111. This is what we got. What are the new records you are trying to insert? Capital 33. We have Wipro, When I click on insert, what is happening? When I click on save, immediately before insert trigger is fired. Before insert trigger is fired. In the before insert trigger, I wrote a logic for account A. In the before insert trigger, I wrote a logic account A trigger dot new. I told A dot one equal to. This is what I do. Then what happened was, before insert trigger is fired. After firing the before insert trigger, data is saved to. What is the data that is saved to database now? Capital. Now this is actually supposed to be saved. But what happened? In the before insert, you modify the data into some data. Like this, the data is saved. It should be supposed to be 333444, but it is saved as what? 999. Why? Because before insert has modified the data. Once the records are saved to database, then what will happen? After insert trigger is going to be fired. After the records are saved, which trigger is fired? After insert trigger. When is this after insert trigger fired? After saving the records to the database. Now, the list of records which are successfully saved now, the list of new records which are successfully saved, they are referred as trigger.new in the after insert. In the after insert, what is a trigger.new? In the after insert, trigger.new contains list of records which are successfully saved. Now trigger.new contains what? Capital 9999 sharp. Wipro 9999 sharp. In the before insert, trigger.new contains what? Capital 333. Wipro 444. These are the list of records which are in trigger.new in after insert, trigger.new contains what? These two records. Are you clear? Now, let us see. Trigger.new is a variable. If I want to modify capital in Wipro, what should I do? I have to write a SOQL query. Now, suppose if I am writing a SOQL query, select name from account. Which records are going to come? We are going to get L, TCS, capital, Y. Because the records are already saved. If record is saved, ID will be there. Right? Records are already saved. If you want to modify capital and Wipro, what should I do? Write a query, get the capital and Wipro records, modify the records, update. So if you want to make any changes on capital and Wipro, we have to make a DML operation. So in the before insert, any changes you want to make on trigger.new records, it is a read and write operation. After insert, in the after insert trigger, if you want to make any changes on trigger.new, it is a DML operation. People are clear? Which records are there in trigger.new? In before insert, capital 333, Wipro 444. Which records are there in trigger.new in after insert? Capital 999, Wipro 999. People are clear? Right? Okay. Now, how do you decide when to go for before or when to go for after? You have seen very good. It's a before, it's after. But when do you go for before? Right. So, you have to write a query in such a way that you get only new records. You need to optimize your query. Okay. Look at the format. Now, when do I go for a after triggers? I want to create a contact for an account. If I want to create a contact for an account should be there first. Unless the account is inserted, I cannot create a contact. I want to create a contact for an account. So how can I create a contact for an account? In the contact object, lookup field, I have to give that account ID. When do I get account ID? When do I get account ID? Only when the account is there. Only after account is inserted successfully, then I will get ID. So what is the concept I will use? After insert. If I need the ID of the record to run my logic, if I need the ID of the record to run the logic, I will go for what? After. I don't need the ID of the record to run the logic, I will go for before. ID I will get only after inserting. ID I will get only after insertion. Are you clear about this? People are clear? People are clear? If you need the ID of the record, I prefer to go with after insert. Now let us take one example. Any further queries on this? People are good with this concept now? Let us take the next example. What is my example? Whenever new account is created, whenever a new account is created with industry as energy, whenever a new account is created with industry as energy, then create a new contact for the account. Create a new contact for an account with contact name, contact last name as account name. Contact last name should be what? Account name. And contact phone number known as account phone number. And lead source. What was this? Whenever new account is created with industry equal to energy, automatically create a contact for the account with contact last name equal to account name, contact phone number equal to account phone number, lead source equal to well. Right. So if I want to create a contact, see, if you want to create a contact, I don't need account ID. If you want to create a contact for an account, if you want to create a contact for me, you need my ID. If you simply want to create a contact, no issue. But you want to create a contact for whom? Account. Whatever the account that is created, for that account I want you to create a contact. Then I am going for what? After insert again. Let us see this. On which option I am ready? What type of trigger is this? After insert. After insert. Now, whatever the record that is inserted, I am going with account A. I have taken all the account records. Then what I am doing? Create a contact. Contact. What is that? If A dot industry equal to energy. So what I ask you to do? Contact C equal to C dot last name equal to A dot, C dot phone equal to A dot, C dot lead source equal to, then C dot, how this contact becomes a child of account? C dot account ID, what is that? Lookup field equal to A dot. If I give the account ID in the lookup field of account, the contact object is a lookup field called account. In that lookup field, if I give the ID of the account, it becomes the chain law of that. Then I told insert, create a contact. But what is the problem here? Is it good practice to write a DML within a for loop? Suppose you are inserting 1000 account records. You are inserting 1000 accounts. Out of those 1000 account records, there are 200 records whose industry is energy. Then what happened? For every account, one contact is created. Account 1, contact 1. Account 2, contact 2. So how many times the DML is performed? 200 times. It is not a good idea to write a DML within a for loop. So what is the solution? Create a list of contacts Then add this contact. Whatever the contact you created, add it to. Then outside the for loop, people have followed this, right? One account record, one contact. Add this contact to list. All the contacts which are created, add them to list and insert them at a single point. Why? We have a limit. What is the limit? 150 DMLs within a transaction. Now I am not sure how many records you are going to insert. It may be 1, it may be 200. Suppose if you are using data loader, you might have inserted 1 lakh records. You are using a data loader, you might have inserted 1 lakh records. Then trigger.view contain how many? 1 lakh records. Then what will be the situation? There is a reason. We will always go with the bulk operation. We are always assume that it's a bulk. So never write a DMLs within a SOQL point. I hope I'm clear. Save it. Why should I go for after insert? Why? I can do it in the before insert also. Why after insert? I want to create a contact for an account. If I want this contact to be a child of account, first the account should be there. Unless the account is there, I cannot create. That is the reason I have taken X. People are clear? Go back to the object. Then I am creating here sapient industry equal to energy. So I have created. So automatically contact was created for this account. So this is the trigger. I hope you are clear. People have followed. People have followed. Any other queries on this? Now let me go with the next part. Listen to the requirement. I have a requirement like this. What is my requirement? My requirement is whenever new lead is created, submit the lead for an approval. Whenever a new lead is created, submit the record for approval. Whenever a new lead record is created, automatically submit the record for approval. If a lead is created, with the lead source equal to web, if a lead is created with the lead source equal to web, automatically create the record for approval. Automatically submit the record for approval. Automatically submit the record for approval. Who should be the approval? If lead source equal to web, submit the record to Karthik. If lead source equal to email, submit the record to Wilson. If the lead source equal to phone, submit the record to Satish. So who is the approval? You are deciding who is the approval programmatically. You are deciding who is the approval programmatically. You are deciding who is the approval programmatically. Are you getting my point? Listen to this concept. I think we already created some custom objects. Any custom objects are there? Some payment object is here. Okay, customer. On the customer object, I have a field currency. Understand this requirement. I am creating a lookup. My lookup is parent object is user. Or else I can change it. My manager. Understand the requirement. at the time of creating a customer, I am going to choose my manager. Whomever I am choosing as my manager, he should be the approval for me. In the approval process, you are going to choose any automated field. Who is that automated field? I would say your manager, your approval. So the users, manager, users, approval. But here, I am programmatically creating. Look at this. When I am creating the record, whomever I am selecting as my manager, the record should go to him. Or getting my point here. Whichever the user I am selecting, that user should be my approver. So it is programmatically designed. This cannot be achieved declaratively. This cannot be achieved declaratively. Declarative is what? On Satish, manager is Sari. On Kumar, manager is Ravi. But this is not user. This is what? Record. On record, I am selecting one manager, then user should be the approver. Submit the record to this user. So how it is achieved? Programmatically. So if you want to submit the record for approval, we require a record. Whichever the record I want to submit, it is a before and after. If I take a before insert, without inserting the record, can I submit the record for approval? You cannot, right? Obviously it should be what? After insert. Because I need the record to be saved in the database first before submitting the record for approval. That is the reason. What trigger I have to take? After trigger. Are you clear? Now I have a requirement like this. Now, only 3 lines of program was. If you want to submit the record for approval, only 3 lines of program. What is that? Which record you want to submit? To whom you want to submit? To which approval process you want to submit? Which record? To whom? To which approval process? Because there may be multiple number of approval process on the same object. So what I am doing? Create a approval process. Set up, build, create, workflows and approvals, approval process, customer object, standard setup, condition I give, amount greater than 50,000. Who can submit? Who can submit? So student can submit and Satish can submit. Now, which record should enter this step? Every record should enter this step. Now, am I choosing any specific user? I am not choosing any specific user. Whomever I am going to choose there, it should be the automated approver. So I told, let me choose the approver manually. I will choose the approver manually. So I created this approval process, boss. This is the approval process what I created. Activate. I have approval process. Now what I want to do? I want to submit the record for approval programmatically. If you want to submit the record for approval programmatically, look at the points what we have. First, approval process submit request. Then you want to give any comments, you can give a comments. The next, what is the record you want to submit? What is the record you want to submit? When you are submitting the record for an approval, which record you are submitting? To whom you are submitting? Who is the person who is submitting? Set the submitter. Set the submitter. Who is the submitter? Who is the submitter? Who is the submitter? Who is the submitter? Then we can give What is the name of the process? What is the name of the process? Then submit the request. So what is the object we have? Approval dot process submit request. Let us see this. We need to see the methods which are there. When you see the methods which are there, then you will be understanding. The methods which are there. Let us see the methods. So what are the methods we have? Is it logged? The record is logged. List of records which are logged. So here we want to look up. So we got approval class. I don't need approval class. I require approval dot process submit request. So look at the format. Right. What was this? Set next approver IDs. Set next approver IDs. Who should be the approver for you? I told whichever the value has selected in the field, he should be my approver. So what I should do was next approver IDs. We have to set the next approver IDs. Look at the method. What it is expecting? List of IDs is expecting. Set a list of next approver IDs. So whomever I am selecting on the record, he should be my approver. He should be my approver. So let us see this. I'll create programmatically. Try to understand this. Whenever new payment record is submitted, new customer record is submitted with city equal to Hyderabad, automatically submit the record to student for approval. So what is the alias name of the student? What is the alias name of the student? Because I want to submit the record to student, alias name is student. Okay. So look at the format boss. Try to understand this format. Programmatically submitting the record for approval, which is called dynamic approval process. Trigger an account object, customer approval. Which object is this? On customer object. What type of trigger is this? Offense. Now, take one by one customer record. Record.new. Then you want to create approval process. What are the steps you want? First step, look at the process. Approval dot process submit request. You submit request. Then what is the next one? Which record you want to submit? Request one. Request dot set object ID. Which object you want to submit? Which record you want to submit? C dot ID. ID of the record. One by one customer I have taken. Then customer ID I passed. Then request one dot set submitter ID. Who is going to be the submitter? The current user. Whoever is the current user, he is submitting. Who is the current user? User info dot get the current user. Whoever is the current user, his ID I am giving. Who is submitting? Whoever is creating this record is the submitter. Now, similarly, request one dot set next approver. Before I go for next approver, user u equal to select ID from where alias equal to right. So what is the method we have? Who is the next approver? Set next approver IDs. Who is the next approver? Request one dot set IDs. It is expecting what? Array of user IDs. It is expecting what? Array of user IDs. user approvers equal to, because in some of the steps a group of people will be approval. We have parallel approval process, right? So in a single step, one person can be approver, group of people can be approver. That is the reason they are expecting what? Group of user. So I have taken. So who is the approver? Request one dot set approver's ID is the next approver. Right, next. We need to submit the record. So how do you submit the record? Once you are done, to which approval process you want to submit? To which approval process you want to submit? You have taken the record, you told who is the person who is submitting, then who is the person who is approver, then we need to set to which approval process you want to submit. To which approval process you want to submit? Go to this. What is the approval process name we have? Hyderabad customer. Give the name of the approval process to which you want to submit. Do you want to skip the entry criteria? I told if amount is more than 50,000. Do you want to check that record to submit the record? If you want to check the condition, remove this. If you don't want to check the condition, give this. There is an entry criteria. You want to skip the condition and submit the record? Then make it skip the criteria. No, you have to check that condition. Then give it as false. Give it as false. Then what is the next condition we have? Submit the record. How do you submit the record? Now, let me reorganize all the things. First one, to which approval process you are submitting. Name of the approval process to which you want to submit. What was this condition? Name of the to which you want to submit. Then, which record you want to submit? Which record we want to submit? Then, who is the submitter? ID of the submitter. Right. The next one, who is the approver? I told approver should be what? I told approver should be manager. Whomever I am selecting as a manager, he should be the approver. So what should I do? Who should be the approver? Whomever I am selecting as a manager, he should be the approver. Whomever I am selecting as a manager, he should be the approver. So it should be what? C dot. Whichever the value, whichever the user I am selecting as a manager, he should be my approver. So I told C dot manager. C dot manager. Are you clear about this point here? So whom I want to create as a approver? Whichever the user we are selecting as a manager, he is my approver. IDs of the approver. Then you want to skip the condition? You can skip the condition. Skip. Then submit the request. This is the process what I defined. People have followed these steps. People have followed these steps. Okay, what is the approval process? Which record you are submitting? Who is submitting the record? To whom you are submitting the record? Do you want to skip the criteria? Submit the record. What is the approval process name? Which record? Who is submitting? To whom we are submitting? Skip the criteria. Submit the record. This is what? Whenever new customer is created, automatically submit the record for approval process. Whenever a new customer is created, automatically submit the record for approval process. To whom? To whom? Whomever we are selecting as a manager, to that person we have to submit it. So I have given select the manager, student. I selected the student as the manager. So what happened? Record is automatically logged. Who is the approver? Student is there. Are you clear about this? So let me again, let me create one more student, one more customer, new customer. $2,000. I have 2,000. Manager equal to Satish. Manager equal to Satish. So the record is submitted who? Whichever the manager is selected here, to the user, the record is submitted. Now if it is a declarative approval process, I cannot submit. I have to choose them. Every record will go to particular user. Every record will go to user who created his manager. User who created his approval manager. I don't want to do like that. Whomever I am selecting on the record, to that person, record should go. Then I am going for what? Declarative. It is not possible with the declarative. That is the reason I am going with the programmatical. This approval process is called as what? Dynamic approval process. User whom you are selecting as a approver, to him the record will be submitted. At the time of creating a record, whomever we are selecting as a approver, to that person the record is going for approval. This is also called as dynamic approval process. This is also called as dynamic approval process, which is created using trigger. Why did you take after trigger? If you want to submit the record should be there in the database first. That is the reason I am going for after insert. People are clear with this format? Clear for everyone? Clear for everyone? Right. So you all have an access to my